Well guys, here we are. It's the last review for Cheap Knife Week, Volume 3. Tomorrow, of course, remember we do have our final conclusions and discussion video, so stay tuned for that. Excuse me. But today, we are going to be taking a look at the Camillus Scivorous. A lot of you will probably remember when I unboxed this knife. When I first got this knife, showed off on the channel quite a bit, and now we're finally ready for the full review. And yes, I thought it was only fitting that we throw it in with Cheap Knife Week. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. Let's get out our measuring stick here. Sharpened edge on this knife is coming in under 3 inches, but the overall blade length is about 3 1/4. However, the overall length of this knife is about 8 inches. So, in fact, I've got a big ruler here. Yeah. So, we've got a little bit of some odd stuff going on. We'll get into that later. Let's go ahead and start off with our size comparisons. Let's bring out the rats. So yeah, in terms of blade length, not so far off from the 2, but in terms of handle, kind of close to the 1. Let's go ahead and bring out our Scivorous, starting with the Elementum. And here's the Praxis. There we go. Let's get out our Bug Out and our PM2. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And let's actually compare it against a couple of Camillus knives, since you guys know I love Camillus. I've got a couple laying around. Here is the Defy. I actually got these on the same day. This knife has already been reviewed, so you can check that out. And let's compare it against, this is my newest Camillus. This is the Dominator 2. I do have, at the time of this filming, the first impressions video has been filmed and is scheduled to come out sometime in, I'm not sure when it's coming, but it'll probably be out before this review. So, there we go. Alright, and let's close off our size comparisons by comparing it against some of the knives we've looked at for Cheap Knife Week. Here is our Ganzo F750. And here's our Crescent. There we go. And you know what? We'll bring out all of them since this is the last video. Here's our, I don't know. Guys, I have no idea what we should call this knife. You know what? In tomorrow's video, maybe we'll try and come up with a name for that thing. Right now, we'll just call it the Butt Monkey. And here is the Ozark Trail. Pretty similar blade length on those two. Alrighty, what are we looking at for our materials here? Well, we have a drop point blade of 420 steel. We have plastic scales. It is a steel liner lock, steel clip, and we are running on bearings. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the cutting footage. Guys, would it even be a Cheap Knife Week without a Camillus? No. We always gotta have Camillus, because Camillus makes frickin' bangers. Camillus is out here making knives for the broke working man, and you know what? I love him for it. I love him for it. If I could meet the CEO of Camillus right now, I'd give him a big old kiss. Love what they're doing. And now I've probably just tarnished this entire review by revealing my internal bias. So, yeah, we got the Camillus Scivorous. And this is an interesting knife. This one's a weird one, but it's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Start off that action. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, man, look at that. Let's just watch it glide. Ridiculously good action. My one complaint with the action is that there is a little bit of detent lash. So, a little bit of sloppiness there. But the detent is very strong. The flipper tab gives you leverage for days. And yeah, it's on bearings. Very smooth, controlled drop. That's what I like to see. So, good job, Camillus. Great action. Let's go ahead and talk about the ergonomics. The handles are plastic, which do feel pretty cheap, but they are contoured. I mean, they're very comfortable. This knife is super comfortable. I was worried that the clip, it looks like a pretty tall clip. I was worried that would bother me in my hand. I don't even feel it. I think it's because it's a wide clip. Don't even feel it. You do have this very generous full-size finger troll to choke up into. Really, really good up in there. Excellent jimping on the spine. The handle is really big. We'll talk about that at the review. But I think it'll be accommodating for all kinds of blades. All kinds of blade sizes. I mean, it would be accommodating for a blade bigger than this one, but it would be very accommodating to a vast array of hand sizes. You can see here, my hand fits about like that. If you had bigger hands than me, though, they have this little area here where your big old meaty pinky could wrap around. Plus choking up. I mean, very comfortable knife. The blade is a little bit small for the handle. I'll say it right now. The blade to handle ratio bugs me on this, but I can't deny that because they give you so much handle compared to the blade, you can get a lot of really fine control over the blade. So, you know, I guess they knew what they were doing. Whatever. All right, let's go ahead and put it in the pocket. So we do have a tip-up carry clip, non-reversible, which is a shame. It's Camillus's sword clip, which I love, or dagger, I don't know. Very nice clip. It's sunk into the scales, and it's got flat screws. Love to see that. And it works great in and out of the pocket. It works great. This is what a pocket knife is supposed to do, right? This is why you put a clip on a knife, is for convenience. If your pocket clip isn't convenient, you're missing the point, right? And you might as well just have a pocket dropper. This one, though, absolutely excellent. No problems in and out of the pocket. Once it's in your pocket, you've got plenty of room. It's a fairly good-sized knife, but it tucks away all right. Very lightweight. Yeah. Really, really nice carry. Let's go ahead and cut some stuff, shall we? So we have this flat ground, nearly a full flat grind. 420 steel blade. Let's go ahead and give it a go. Don't want to flip this over because I've got stickers with addresses on there, but we've got some very thick cardboard here. Ta-da! Worked pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and grab our rope. All right. Let's see how it does here. I have a feeling it's not going to do very good. Okay, it did a little bit better than I was thinking, but yeah. Very thin blade, very light knife. Not really a good combination for the rope test. All right, let's go ahead and do some pool noodle cutting. Whoa. Holy cow. Okay. That did not feel very good because I kept getting that big old choil caught in there. let's see what that is like without catching the choil. We'll just do one. Make sure I can't get that choil in there. All right. There might be something a little bit wonky on this edge. It's not cutting through there as nicely as I would expect. But, you know what? It's 420 steel. It'll be easy to reprofile that. So, there's the blade. Let's go ahead. Let's get back to the table. Let's talk about this bad boy. Shebang. We're back. Let's talk about what I'm liking. Excuse me. Ooh, I got the hiccups today. Let's talk about what I'm liking and not liking about this Camillus Scivorous. Number one, it's a good looking knife. It's got very classic lines. I was attracted to the overall shape of this knife, and that's one of the reasons I picked it up. We'll come back to some of the aesthetic things here in a little bit, but yeah. Next thing, this blade. This is a very, very nice blade. Very classic drop point. The satin finish is actually really nice. This one is all dirty right now. But yeah, very nice satin finish. Nice wedge up here. Again, kind of a spear point, drop point hybrid. The steel is 420. Nothing amazing, but honestly, for a $15 knife, it's 100% fine. It's actually very easy to sharpen and maintain. I actually just put this edge on here like 2 minutes before I started filming today, and it took me like, I don't even know, like 10 minutes. It's not a perfect polished edge, but it's pretty dang good for just, you know, a couple passes. Yeah, so great blade. Let's start with the ergonomics. The ergonomics on this thing are absolutely fantastic. Killer ergos. These are probably the best ergos of any knife we've featured this week so far. The scales are actually contoured, which is a nice feature. The liners are inset, again, another pretty nice feature. And the texturing is kind of interesting. Yes, it's plastic, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's got some good grabby texture. Fills the hand really well. You have this full-size finger choil that you can really choke up into. You get a lot of control over that blade. The jimping on the spine here is excellent. When you're back here, it's sharp, but it's not super aggressive. It probably could have been toned down just a little bit, but I'm not complaining all that much. It really does grab your thumb. It's placed in a really nice spot. Really, really helps you index the knife. The handle is going to work for a wide variety of hand sizes. It's pretty neutral, and you can see when my hand is in here, you know, I can fit my hand in there. If you've got big hands, this little spot here is going to be excellent for your pinky to wrap around. And honestly, when I'm using the knife, this is kind of how I grab it. Normally, you know, kind of loped over there. I can squeeze my hand all the way in there if I really want to, but yeah, it's going to work out for numerous people. And I think that's really good. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Next thing, the pocket clip. This pocket clip is fantastic. Number one, it has the little dagger on it, which, I don't know. I like stylistic pocket clips. You know, like the Chavez skull clip, or the skull clip that Dagger Knives uses. I like pocket clips that are kind of a signature in and of themselves. And so the Camillus clip with the little dagger in it, I get a kick out of it. I like it a whole lot. I think it's a really neat little design choice. But the clip itself is really, really good. You see here that does not goosebill up, which is awesome. It's inset into the scales, and it has flat screws. It's a perfect pocket clip. It goes in and out of the pocket with no problems at all. In the hand, the pocket clips that are a little bit wider like this, they just disappear in your hand better. I can feel the pocket clip a little bit sometimes in certain grips, but by and large, it pretty much disappears. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. That's the best thing a pocket knife or pocket clip can be, is useful but unobtrusive. So that definitely works right there. Next thing, I do like some of the little design details they decided to put in here, such as the pivot collar. I mean, they didn't have to do that, but they did. I think pivot collars are really nice. They're a super easy way to class up a knife. I know CJRB does it a lot, and I love that. You know, it's not a whole lot but it's a nice little detail. I also do like their little geared backspacer here with the lanyard hole in there. This is a pretty nice lanyard. It's not prioritized over the clip, really. The clip, I guess, could have been deeper carry if they moved this screw back, but I'm not going to complain about that. And if you do want to use a lanyard, this will be good because the whatever you're using for your lanyard, paracord or something, will kind of tuck into the scales. And yeah, really nice. Again, you know, we have like these, the texturing is pretty good. We do have like these little chamfers here, the inset liners. They did try very hard to put some effort into making this a very cheap knife, and I love that. Next thing I like is the action. Flipper only, but they did this flipper tab so dang right. You can see that this part of the scale just leads into the flipper tab. This is always a good sign. When a knife does this, you know the action's going to be good because they're setting you up for a lot of leverage. The flipper tab does stick out quite a bit, so you can get tons of leverage on there. It's positioned a little bit above the center line of the pivot. The jimping on it is good. It's not super sharp, but it is functional. All of those elements combine to make an action that just fires out of there. This knife smacks. And then on the close, no blade play. Even if I try and just do it a little bit slower, catch it a little bit higher, you are off of the detent very early. Very early you're off that detent. Oh, this is an absolutely excellent action. Best action of any of the knives we've seen in Cheap Knife Week. And I gotta say, Camillus really does know how to do an action. This is an aside, but this little bugger right here, holy crap. Holy crap. Camillus, they know what they're doing. Yeah. That very, very nice action. Great detent. Again, the leverage you get on that flipper tab. You just can't argue with it. You just can't argue with it. Whew, did you see that? Shaved my thumbnail a little bit coming down. But, yeah. Really, really spectacular action. And the last thing we're going to talk about as a positive is access to the lock bar. It's pretty easy to get in there and get to that lock bar. They did take some time to think that out, and I appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and get on to some negatives. One negative is there is a little bit of detent lash. You can probably see and hear that. $15 knife. Honestly, it doesn't bother me that much, but I figured I'd point it out. Another issue that I have with this knife is that the blade to handle ratio is just horrendous. And again, this is something this is a nitpick. This is a nitpick. And this is a $15 knife. I can't complain that much. And honestly, I see why they did it. Let's close the knife. Look at how much more blade they could have packed into this handle. Oh, by the way, fit and finish is very good. Centering and everything was good out of the box. But look how much blade they could have put into that handle. Now, I see why they didn't. They give you this blade, they give you a good blade here. This is a good sized blade with a lot of utility. And with this long handle attached to this blade, with this big choke up point, you can get incredible control over your tip and over every single millimeter of your edge. So I know why they did it, but it triggers my OCD. It's just, you know, and aesthetically, I'm not a big fan, right? I'm not a big fan. I guess I could complain that, you know, it would have been cool if the paw clip was reversible, but I mean, it's a right-hand bias liner lock, so I'm not going to knock them too much on that. The next thing I'll complain about is that it feels kind of cheap. This plastic is very plasticky. It's a lightweight knife, and it's kind of a lightweight in that cheap way. But again, it's a cheap knife. It's $15. So, you know, oh, this cheap knife feels cheap. I mean, no one's surprised, right? And even though it feels a little bit cheap, it doesn't feel poorly made. It feels very competently made. The lockup is solid. You know, as we already talked about, ergonomics are good. They took some time to put some detail in this thing. The action's fantastic. So it doesn't feel like it's cheaply made, but the plastic does feel very cheap. So I'll mention that. Other than that, in the cutting footage, the blade didn't do as good as I was expecting it to. The edge alignment was a little bit wonky. I'm sure it's much better now with this new edge. I mean, really, there's not anything else to really complain about. So let's go ahead and go to final, well, not the quite final conclusions. That's tomorrow's video, but let's go ahead to the review final conclusions. This is a cool knife. And again, Camillus never ceases to amaze me with the kind of value that they're bringing at these low prices. Now, is this as good of a knife as this? No. But this was a $60 knife, and this was a $15 knife. Is this a knife that's as good as this? Yes, this is a piece of crap. This knife sucks. And this is a $30 knife. This one's half the price, and it performs way better. Right? And so, again, there's a lot of things that I could nitpick. If this knife was a $50, $60 knife, yeah, this plastic is unacceptable, right? I want to see T8 hardware, you know? Maybe the branding on the blade I'd complain about a little bit more. But again, also, wait a second. I just noticed something. Holy cow, you're kidding me. No way. Okay. So, remember how I was complaining that this knife, maybe could have done with a reversible clip? Well, guess what? If we look in there, the opposite liner is actually drilled for a pocket clip. So if you want to carry this knife and you want to have a reversible clip, all you have to do is drill holes through the plastic. I mean, that's more work than, if they'd already had it drilled for you. But still, I hadn't noticed that till just now, so that's kind of funny. Definitely, this thing is not going to stack up the same against some of your, CGRBs, Civivis, Kaisers, things like that. But it's not trying to. Camillus isn't trying to compete with those guys. Camillus is doing their own thing, right? And I admire them for that. I think that's fantastic. They are putting really nice knives in the pockets of people who, might not be familiar with the knife community. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, yes, there's a couple of issues with this knife. This is not my favorite Camillus knife. The blade to handle ratio does kind of bother me a bit, but it's a really, really good knife. So, that's going to be it for today's video. Tomorrow we have the wrap-up of Cheap Knife Week Volume 3. I hope to see you there. Until then, if you like this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful day. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.